This story takes place in 1997 when I was 8 years old. My parents had gotten divorced several years prior, so my little sister, who was 2 years younger, and I used to stay with our dad every other weekend. One day, he introduced us to his new girlfriend, Rachel, a tall blonde woman who had won a beauty pageant. I remember those first months of getting to know Rachel were fun. She seemed like a nice lady. She had a cuddly gray parrot and a pet raven that could talk, which of course made my younger self quite ecstatic. She'd babysit us sometimes and was really engaged. I remember her painting our toenails in my favorite red shade. But after a while, things started to change. I began to notice she could be a bit odd at times, saying weird things or acting a bit strangely. It creeped me out. At times, I could tell she didn't really like me or my sister, yet she pretended that she did, especially in front of Dad. Over time, her mask began to slip, and she started to show herself as a phony more and more. We started seeing her less frequently when staying with our dad. My mom told our dad that she didn't want us to be left alone with Rachel. Then one day, he told us they'd broken up and that we wouldn't be seeing her anymore. He told us that we shouldn't talk to her or go home with her if she showed up at our school. Not long after that, Rachel really started harassing my dad. She would randomly turn up at places when we went to visit during weekends and would try to talk to us. She called him non-stop on the phone when we were at home, crying and making threats until he unplugged the phone from the wall. Years later, I found out that she had even threatened to kill my sister and me on several occasions, and that Dad got a restraining order. Rachel also keyed my dad's car, broke into his company to trash it, and stole a lot of money that he never got back. She even started writing threatening letters to my mom. My parents have always been good friends ever since the divorce. It all culminated with a letter from the authorities. A letter accusing my dad of being a child molester. I still vividly remember how Mom sat us down in our room, holding the letter, a deep look of concern on her face, asking if Dad had ever touched us inappropriately, which, of course, he never has. It turned out it was Rachel who had falsely accused him in an attempt to prevent him from seeing us. I felt so angry and upset that she had gone to such extreme lengths. The last memory I have of Rachel happened a few weeks before Christmas. We were staying at my dad's place over the weekend. It was a 2-story apartment with a large window spanning an entire wall, floor to ceiling, in the living room where we had just sat down to watch TV. Next to the window, there was a glass door leading onto a stone patio, bordering a lawn that ended with a tall hedge. On this particular day, the outdoor lights had been switched off, which meant it was pitch black outside. As we were settled down watching Superman, I suddenly heard a strange, sharp noise coming from the window. It sounded like something was clawing on the glass, attempting to get in. The sofa I was sitting on was right in front of the window, so I had my back towards it. I slowly turned around to look over my shoulder, heart thumping in my chest, hairs standing on end as if I was being watched. but all I saw was pitch black darkness lurking behind my own reflection. By this point, Dad had also heard the sound and gotten up to turn on the patio lights. When the outside suddenly flooded with light, I found myself staring into the face of a smiling blonde woman peering into our living room. Need I tell you that I screamed? Both my sister and I flew up from the couch like it had been scorched with fire and ran behind our dad. When I looked toward the window again, I saw Rachel with both of her hands up against the glass, tightly cupped beside her face, looking inside. The patio door was right next to her. I tugged on my dad's shirt and whispered, "Is the door locked?" as she reached for the handle. That millisecond of doubt flashing across my dad's face still haunts me to this day. Rachel truly looked like a madwoman as she furiously jerked on the locked handle, attempting to get in, briefly pausing to peer through the glass now and again. I remember thinking Dad looked oddly calm as he ushered us around the corner wall, telling us to stay out of sight. As he walked toward the patio door, we begged him not to go outside, thinking she could have a knife hidden somewhere. He opened up a small crack in the door, firmly holding on to the handle, and asked what the hell she was doing in his backyard. She tried to get him to let her in, putting on a big smile and tossing her hair, but Dad wouldn't budge, telling her to leave or he would call the cops. Eventually, she conceded, but she left a bunch of Christmas presents behind. Once Rachel was out of sight, Dad went outside to make sure she was really gone, picking up the gifts she had left behind on his way back. None of us wanted anything to do with the presents, so they ended up in the trash, still fully wrapped. I'll never know if they were just normal gifts or something far more morbid. But perhaps it's better not knowing.